Our next panel discussion is moderated by Dr. Spirit, licensed therapist, owner, and founder of T2S Enterprises, a behavioral healthcare firm working to develop sustainable interventions and recovery within historically marginalized communities. Being Superhuman also features none other than our pioneering, award-winning, changing the game all the time for the good founder, Taraji P. Henson. Taraji and Spirit will be conversing with author, speaker, and licensed therapist Jay Barnett. They will explore the pressure of competition, keeping up an image, and a host of other unrealistic expectations on young people, or any of us for that matter, often directly causing self-judgment, anxiety, and loneliness in the hustle culture for success. Let's go there now and check it out.
Hello, and welcome back to our final symposium of the evening. You know we save the best for last, don't you? Although the others were quite tremendous, it's simply that I am so excited to have the opportunity to sit with these two amazing human beings. So welcome back to the CanWeTalk Symposium and Joy Awards for the final time tonight, as we talk on this symposium about what it means to be superhuman, the mental health impact on young artists, scholars, advocates, and athletes. And joining me now is the very heartbeat of our organization. Please welcome Taraji P. Henson and my colleague and dear sweet friend, Mr. Jay Barnett. Hello to you guys.
Hello, how are you?
How are you doing, Dr.
So
Spirit?
great. Hey, it's so great to see you guys. I have been waiting to talk to you. And I guess let me say welcome to everybody who's joining us. And thank you all for being here with us tonight as we dive into this topic. It's definitely one where we are seeing really a slight shift in the hustle culture to messaging from industry leaders like you, Taraji, as well as former athletes and therapists like you, Jay, and of course others who are doing our very best to drive the message around self-care and preservation to audiences everywhere. You know, it's a different pressure to be great and superhuman, isn't it, when it comes to high performance athletes and scholars and advocates and celebrities? Because that raw passion that we begin with as young people, it can quickly turn into by any means necessary. And to maintain that image of success to please our fans, our families, coaches, industry folks, and friends, all of that can be a whole lot. So tonight we're going to explore exactly what it's like to succumb to that pressure to be superhuman, with that whole the show must go on and the game must be played no matter what mentality. Because the reality is, you know, as we know, the desire to even try to be superhuman is not good for our mental health. And our young people feel this pressure now more than ever. Enter social media. So Taraji, first of all, thank you, and just thank you for founding the Boris Lawrence Henson Foundation, because none of us would be here without your courageous advocacy. And I wanted to ask you, let's start here, relative to the importance of mental health and wellness in the Black community, with you as the founder of BLHF. You recently were very public about being unhappy, and you were also very public about doing something to take care of yourself. And so I want to ask you tonight, what are your initial thoughts about why this idea that the show must go on is not only damaging to performers or to athletes, but also to the audiences setting up these kinds of expectations?
Well, first of all, it's unrealistic. I mean, that's why we have weekends. That's why we have to go to bed and give our body a rest. These are things that biologically we have to do, or we will succumb to illness. And so it's literally, it's not real. It's a fantasy. It's BS, because you will hit a wall. And it seems like it's easier to have that kind of mentality when you're young, because you're so hungry and you're so new and you're so excited. But as you get older, and this is what happened to me, I was working. And one day I looked up and I didn't know who I was anymore. Like I lost my joy. I lost my happiness. I lost my why I was doing what I was doing. And it all started to feel like work. And I'm an artist. And the great thing about what I do is that it never felt like work. But I never gave myself a real break. You know, I would take vacations and everything, but most times it would be like for a week or two. And as soon as I leave that vacation, I'm going right into another project. So I never really gave myself a chance to even take in what I had accomplished. And so I noticed, like, the older I would get, the older that I got, that grind mentality just wasn't working for me mentally. It was wearing me out. It was wearing on my mental, and it was forcing me into these dark places because I wasn't in real time, you know. And that's what it means, that superhuman thing. You're not in real time, because in real time, your body's going to shut down and say, hey, it's time to go to sleep. You got to take a nap. It's time to take a break. But when you're in that fantasy world of grind, you don't feel it, until you feel it, because it will deal with you like it did with me. And I had to go away. I had to go away and shut it all down, unplug, and get together.
Yeah, what's that saying? It's like, take care of your body or it will require you, right? Like, it's sit down and rest or it will make you rest.
Absolutely.
That is serious. Now, Jay, let me ask you also, because you coach and advise everywhere from the classrooms to the boardrooms, and men all across the nation with Just Heal Bro Tour and, all the other places in between. But you're also a former professional athlete. So you know this pressure to be superhuman from your own experiences. Can you tell us from that lens, not your therapist hat for just a second, I want you to take that off, but can you tell us from that lens as a professional player, how you were mentally affected as a young athlete?
I thank you guys for having me, Taraji, and Dr. Spirit for having me on. It's one of those things, and Taraji touched on it, it's very unrealistic. And I think during that time for me, I was so focused on performing. And as Taraji said, eventually your body will shut down, because what is happening when your body is shut down is because your mind is tired. And when your mind is tired, the body is going to respond by shutting down. And I think one of the most unhealthiest things that I saw in sports and even as an athlete was pushing yourself beyond fatigue. Every coach used the quote that Vince Lombardi said, and which holds true, that fatigue makes a coward out of all of us. But also, I think fatigue is actually that signal that's saying, I think you need to take a break. And what we believe is that when we took breaks and when we were tired, and then we would needed it or requested that, hey, coach, I think I need to kind of sit this out, we were often challenged on our ability to push beyond what we were feeling. So you would hear that, pain is just temporary, right? You would hear that if you can't push beyond the tiredness or the fatigueness, right, you're not committed to the team. You're not committed to the end goal. How can you be a champion? And what we're seeing now in real time, that we are not, having opportunities to actually take breaks from our performance. Yeah. And you're seeing athletes that are dropping, at practice, you're seeing it younger and younger. I've never seen so many kids that are dying on the field, that are dying at these sporting events. And I'm asking myself, what is going on? And you look around, everyone is in this intense space of just trying to go. And it's pushing us to a point of no return, and our mental and our physical are taking hits at a rate that is very, very unhealthy for us as a human race.
Yeah.
That is powerful, and I can relate to that, because as a therapist, I have the opportunity to work with athletes and artists across industries, across ages, across associations and leagues. And I will tell you, the number of children who are not allowed to simply be children anymore. And to your point about like pain, I actually heard a coach tell these kids one day that pain is just weakness leaving your body. And I had to say, Stop, time out. No, pain is pain. Pain
Yeah.
is your body's way of telling you that you are pushing it to the limit and beyond. And so we have to change that narrative. I completely get where you are going with that. It's tremendous, the pressure that these young kids are in. And they are going to burn out before they even get to the opportunities that you've had.
Yeah, you're already seeing that. Studies is already showing right now in between 15 and 21% of athletes, especially these elite athletes, these kids who their parents feel like, my son or daughter are going to play collegiate or, play in it professionally. These kids are experiencing high burnout rates at levels that they have never seen. And these kids are experiencing high rates of depression. And you're also seeing an increase in suicide in college athletes that no one is speaking about. And this is across the board from female and male athletes, because simply these kids are tired. I mean, you think about it, you got to perform at your sport. You're on social media, and if you're quote unquote see yourself as a brand, you're posting, you're trying to keep up with how many followers you got, you're trying to keep up, and now you have the NIL deal. It's just a lot. And as Taraji said, as I'm aging, what's important to me is rest.
Yeah. I get so excited when it's time to go to bed, baby. That is the highlight of the evening. I'm like, oh, it's time to go to bed. I'm out. I get excited.
It's not happening. It's not happening.
Yeah.
I get that. I get that.
And sometimes rest is not just sleeping. Sometimes rest is just turning your phone off.
And see, I don't think people really understand that social media has become a part of the job description now. I don't care where you go, what you do. It's all about posting. I remember before Twitter had really come out, we didn't have to worry about posting, but now it's a requirement to help promote whatever it is.
Right? From what you ate to the bad day that you're having, look at me crying, to the stress, like everything is documented.
But I'm saying
now.
as a job, as your job, like as an actor, I am required to post about the projects and during the day on set. It's just like, it's too much. It's too much. It's enough to have to work these long 18-hour days. And as I'm portraying these characters, I'm taking on their trauma, right? And sometimes triggering my own. And then I have to share with the world what I'm doing. Like once before, you just went to work, you went to set, and everybody would have to wait until the project was done to go and see it. But now we're like we're live tweeting and posting about what we're working on before the project is even out. It's become too much.
And then our children are watching us as adults, and then they feel the pressure to follow suit as they think this is the way to go. Yeah. So then, Taraji, let me ask you this then, because with that in mind, I mean, you are absolutely beloved by like millions of fans and followers. You talk about social media, and you have this remarkable ability to relate to our community in ways that most people just don't. So I'm curious then for you, like what advice do you offer to those of us that are not celebrities or high performance athletes like Jay about just the pressure to be superhuman as a result of those expectations that are placed on them? Like maybe it's the single mother or it's the only child who carries that burden. What would you say to them as they are struggling to figure out how do they stay afloat in all of the craziness that is now social media and just trying to keep up?
First of all, take the cape off, burn it, throw it away. It's not real. Watch a Marvel movie if you want to see a superhero, champion for yourself. If you don't feel like it, don't do it. I don't care what it is. If a friend calls and say, hey, let's go out, and you don't feel it, don't do it. Listen to yourself. Stop, ground yourself, breathe, inhale, exhale, breathe with intent, and really listen to yourself and honor yourself. Because no one's going to do it for you. Your friends are going to go and keep going. As long as you keep going, they're going to keep going. And then when something happens, then everybody, takes notice. But until you speak up, you have to take up for yourself. Like if I don't feel it, I'm not going. If the phone rings and I don't feel like talking, I'm not going to answer. And that's not being mean or rude. That's honoring myself. And I owe that to myself. And the older I get, the less I answer the phone. I
Oh,
have a
I
signal.
love it.
I'll be like, I'm going out tonight. We could go because literally to me going out is a nice meal, and I have a signal. My body and it does it instantly. I'll start rocking, and now my friends know. She ready to go home. That's me. I'm rocking my
Knocking, don't come a knocking, huh?
go and then stop rocking myself to sleep basically, and that's my body letting me know it's time. It's time. Like I
Mm.
don't know if it's a nervous tick, but I will start rocking, and that's my signal to say, "Hey, I think I've exhausted my time here. It's time for me to go take care of me."
Ooh, those self-soothing behaviors when your body just starts to build up, that rock just kind of that stymie, it helps you. Oh, I could talk about that forever. Okay, wait. So so Jay, I got to ask you too, because I know we are so short on time and I want to get all this in. But let me ask you about this in your new series, right? Because you have this great, amazing new series that you're working on, Walk a Mile in My Shoes. And you speak with athletes and performers, among other folks, about their mental health challenges. And I want to know, is the advice that you give to a top performing athlete any different than the advice you give to, I don't know, say a struggling young Black child trying to do their best in school, taking exams, for instance?
I think it's a tad bit different based on the environments, but I think the similarities of the practice of the methods are all the same. I think there are tools that can be transferable, whether you're a pro athlete or whether you're the child, just trying to work your way through school and you're struggling. And one of the things I always challenge everyone is to understand when you're at capacity, to understand when you have reached your level, like, you know what, let me close the book. I'm in this doctoral program and I've shared this with somebody and they says, well, how do you do all this stuff? And you're traveling, you're in this doctoral program. I have learned that there are times when I have to close my laptop. It's like I have nothing else to give to this paper and I'll pick it up tomorrow. And I think that we have this dissonance within us as humans, as Taraji's speaking about it, with social media. It's just like even when somebody's booking me to speak, I often feel the pressure. Hey, make sure you post.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, make sure you put this in your story. And so and I'm the type of person is that I kind of dance to my own beat. And so it's like, I won't post them when they want me to, because it's like, there's other things that are going on, but I'm like, I'm going to post it because I don't want it to kind of get lost in everything else. But it's also understanding what honors me. And going back to what Taraji said earlier, what is the why? And that acronym for me, it's what honors you, whether you're a professional athlete, whether you're a student, what honors you? What is that thing that you need for you? And sometimes it's just to step away from something and say, let me give this a break. And I think if we look at these characters and these superhumans that we see in the movies, just like Superman, he had a booth. And I often tell guys, and especially men, find a booth, meaning find a place where you can take a moment to yourself. You can call your own timeout. It's just like, there's times in a game where it's literally like, coach, we dying out here. You know what I mean? We're dead. We need to call the timeout. And so I think it's important for all of us to learn and to teach these kids when to call a timeout for themselves. And that's sometimes these kids, we need to, when you need to go tell the teacher, hey, Miss Johnson, I need to step out in the hall for a little bit. It's a little bit much right now, because what this is doing is this is preparing them also to understand how to use their voice and not to be these individuals that are people pleasers, these individuals that exerting themselves to this end. Then everyone says, oh, what happened? He had a nervous breakdown, or she just, it's really time for us to really push a narrative of being a human and not trying to be a superhuman.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, so then let me ask you, Jay, with that in mind, what would you say is missing in training young athletes and high performers to really address those pressures that are placed on them? Like, is there something that you might have appreciated as a young athlete that you think they could benefit from today?
Yeah, the guilt of not taking breaks, easy. The guilt of taking breaks, the guilt of pausing, and I like to call my pause is holy, it's sacred. You know what I mean? So these guys, they come out of season, they may take a week off and they're right back in it. So their body don't get a break. If you got a spouse, they don't get a break because it's hard to transition out of in season into the off season because you still kind of in that programming. And so, but you see that with people at work, they leave work and bring work home. And what I like to say, home has to be a place where you check out and you're not checking in into another workplace, And so that's what I would say. It's the guilt of pausing because you hear this. Somebody else is working right now while you taking a break. Man, let them work.
Come on. Somebody is up at the wee hours getting it while you sleeping.
While they sleep, I grind. While they sleep, I grind. That's not honoring yourself. You need to be asleep too.
So that's a great point. So then, Taraji, I'll ask you the same thing as an artist. Like, do you feel that you were prepared through the training to deal with the ups and downs in the industry, especially as a Black woman? And then, to that point, like, what should training programs consider adding to their curriculums as they prepare artists for that grind culture?
Absolutely not. I was not prepared. You learn as you go. I just wish when I was at Howard, yes, we did amazing shows and plays and incredible productions. Even got to go to Hong Kong with the cast, with the production of Dreamgirls. Never been outside of the country. It was amazing. But that's a lot of work, and we would be in those tech rehearsals and they would go into the wee hours of the morning and you would see students passed out in the hallway on book bags and still have to get up and go to class the next day. I just wish there were moments where we wouldn't push so hard. Yes, we got to tech. Yes, we got to get this show up on its feet. But where's our moment to break? Where's the meditation? Can we have a sound bath, maybe, some sound healing in between, a moment to just gather ourselves again to catch that second wind so we can get through the rest of this tech rehearsal. I just wish it was a part of the curriculum. I wish I was something that I didn't have to teach and myself later on in life, how to meditate and do yoga and take care of myself from the inside out. I wish that was a part of the curriculum. Because in this madness and trying to keep myself and hold myself together in this industry, I had to find it for myself, meditation and, learning when to say no. I had to learn that, but no one sat me down and said, take care of yourself. You don't have to do everything. I thought I had to say yes to everything. I had to learn later on in life and in this industry that no was the most powerful word that I had. The most powerful tool that I could use was the word no. I learned that later on, much later.
Mm-hmm. So see, now we're talking those coping strategies, and those are all those healthy, effective ones. So that's a great segue into this idea about those ineffective ones or the unhealthy ones, the substance abuse stuff. Mm-hmm. And so, Jay, let's just be real, because a lot of our young folks, our creatives, the advocates, athletes, so many people sometimes turn to substance use or, any other type of use, if we will just be real, because there's so many ways to self-medicate as ways to just deal with a lot of the depressive disorders, because they feel the disappointment if they don't meet the expectations of what mom and dad wanted them to be. They can become withdrawn, and parents are kind of at a loss oftentimes as what to do when the kids are struggling. And so I'm curious, what is some advice that you might give to parents or guardians or even coaches to help young people get the help that they need if they find that they are engaged in some unhealthy self-medicating behaviors?
One of the advice that I would really want to echo is really focusing more on developing the person rather than the skill or the athletic ability. Even when we're looking at coaches, they're so focused on how fast these guys can get, how big we want him to get in the off season, or parents is focusing on, I want you to get this A, and you need to have this GPA. And I think we need to place more emphasis on focusing on building the person. We are so focused on building personas, and these personas are killing the person. And so I think the advice is, let's focus on how does he or she manage their mental health while they're pursuing their athletic pursuits or pursuing their scholastic pursuits. What is that process for them? We should really focus on building the whole person holistically, not just educational, athletically, but building this person so they can have an understanding of when they are at capacity and when they're at their limits, so they can be able to verbalize, hey, I need a moment to myself. You know what? I don't think this is a project that I can be a part of. And going back to what Taraji said, I think a lot of us are learning that now as we are aging, because we all kind of grew up like you got to say yes to everything, especially if you're trying to get your name out there. You got to be on this platform. You got to be on that platform. And I've even had to learn the power of no, and understanding that my no actually protects what I say yes to. So I can be fully invested into my yes and not be in a place where it's like, why did I even say yes to this?
Yep. Yes.
You better preach a word.
So I think we need to advise these kids also on how to say no, because there's such a fear, we call it FOMO. There's such a fear of missing out. And so these kids are anesthetizing with so many different things, and they're coping with drugs because they want to be up all night. If I'm up all night, I can create, and not realizing that your body needs to rest. If you look at Big Farm and you look at what they are pulling in from sleep aids, just from sleep aids, because people cannot sleep. You know what I mean? And you think about that. That's something the body naturally does, but nobody can do it because we're overstimulated,
Way overstimulated.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And we've been talking to you all as the adults this whole time, but I think we should just take these final few moments to hear from one of our youth. And so I want to welcome Addison to this conversation. And Addison, it's so great to have you here. Now, Addison, let me ask you this, because you are the youth mayor of DC, advocating for young people to take care of their mental health, and you've had some challenges of your own. So first, I want to ask you, what does the youth mayor of DC, or what does it mean to be the youth mayor of DC? And can you just kind of give us a typical day as you try to balance school, home, and social life? Like, what is all of this for you?
Well, my role really consists of being an advocate for youth and the issues that they are facing. So I talk to youth a lot. I take the issues that are most prevalent in our communities, and I really work with city officials, adults, lawmakers to figure out ways and solutions that we can work with youth or help to fix their issues, help work with them to make them not as bad. And so a typical day for me, it is, when I tell you this is an all day, everyday thing, especially this month, Mental Health Awareness Month. Mental health is really a topic that is very near and dear to my heart. And so I have been spending this month on a speaking tour to different DC public high schools where I'm going and trying to end the stigma around the conversation, helping other kids understand that it is okay not to be okay. I think especially the Black community. So I've been going to different DC public high schools. And so a lot of the students that I'm speaking to are African American. And so I think a lot of times we feel like we need to be strong because we do. Our world forces us to, and our country forces us to. The racism that we're constantly facing and the numerous other issues, gun violence, everything else, we feel like we have to be strong all the time. But when it comes to our mental health, the strength comes from you admitting that you are not okay and seeking out help. I personally think that takes a lot of strength, a lot of courage from an individual. And so I've been going around to schools kind of trying to help other youth, other teens specifically, who are most prone to mental health issues, understand that. But yeah, it's a very busy schedule to answer your question.
And it's Addison, let me ask you this though, because that is a very huge undertaking that you are doing at such a young age. And, with Jay and I as therapists, we know how heavy this lift can be. And Taraji overseeing this organization, we know how heavy this lift can be. How do you manage your own mental health under all of the pressure that comes with the work that you're doing?
Well, specifically over COVID, I discovered that I enjoy painting. I take the time to, like was stated earlier, put my phone away, get myself out of all of the distractions of the world, focus my time and energy on something that is calming, enjoying to me personally, and it helps relieve a lot of the stress and anxiety that I am overcoming or that I am dealing with. And then I've also learned to say no a lot more. That took me a very long time to kind of be able to do. I felt like I have to be Superwoman and do everything. Everything felt as important as the next thing. And I had to understand that in order for me to perform my best, in order for me to be at my best for others, I have to take care of myself first. I have to be the best version of myself for everyone else who needs me. And so that means prioritizing myself and being able to say no. And then lastly, I would really just say taking breaks. And what that means is going to the mall, hanging out with friends, doing things that other teens are doing, other youth are doing, and kind of trying to remember that that is still who I am, though I may be very busy.
There we go. Being able to remember that is still who I am. And hopefully, us adults will do enough of the heavy lifting so that you can enjoy your adolescence just a little bit longer. But I thank you for all the work that you're doing, and we definitely need your voice in the trenches. So thank you. And thank you for joining us tonight as well. Thank you. Woo! I am so excited and fired up because we can do some work with the youth when they are talking like that. That's great. Well, let me ask you guys as we get ready to wrap up, because I want to honor and respect your time. But, we've heard how Addison manages her mental health under pressure. I'm wondering, can you give us all one of your best tips, Taraji and Jay, around maybe how to deal with pressure from both the external or the internal, maybe a takeaway or two? And, I know from my work as a therapist that often the culprit is the narrative that's in our heads. Mm-hmm. And that can be sometimes just as debilitating as the culprits that are outside in the world. So can you leave us with your best personal anti-pressure or maybe anti-anxiety advice that you give yourselves when that Superman or that Superwoman cape tries to show up and you start to put it on?
I just say I'm not in the Marvel comics. There are no special effects in my real life. Everything is happening in real time. And so sit down, take the cape off, throw it in the trash, put it away, put the script and the pen away that you're writing. Because once I realized I was writing these scripts, it was my therapist that showed me that I was writing amazing scripts. I find that taking my shoes off and going outside and grounding myself to the earth really helps, because it really reminds you that this is real. You are here, right now. Planting my feet on the solid earth and grounding myself and intentionally breathing reminds me that it's real time happening.
That is so good. Ooh, I need to go take off my shoes and walk in this grass right about now while you're playing. Yes. Well, Jay, how about you? You also, come on, let's just be real. You also have an incredible schedule taking care of others. So what do you tell Jay about the pressure?
I've learned to stay present in the moment, not to get ahead of myself. And, I think, anxiety explained in real time as being here and wanting to be there. And I think we all battle with that, right? You're concerned about the future and you're trying to forget about the past. And so I just learned to be present. I love flowers. That has become my thing, going to the flower shop and picking out flowers. And what it does is it pushes me to slow down, because you have to take your time, and especially when I'm putting together arrangements, I take my time, taking the leaves off, cutting stems, and dressing up my arrangements and stuff like that. And so, today I was out looking at, I'm going to open up this flower shop for men, probably the end of this year, early next year. So I was out looking at just some things that I can add. But just finding moments where I'm not talking about mental health, I'm not talking about therapy, I'm just being. And so I think that's what I've done, a lot of in 2023 is just finding moments where I can just be.
Yep. And you see the overall theme here, nature. It's right here to be enjoyed.
Yeah.
And we ignore it so much with our heads down on our, devices, or, like Jay said, thinking about the future, trying to forget the past, that we don't even realize that we're standing right in a bed of beautiful tulips. You know what I mean? So that's that nature. Nature is one way to stay present and just be one with nature. It's real.
Yes.
It's healing.
And to that point, to that point, there is a reason why we are now beginning to write what we call nature prescriptions, where literally, depending on the state that you live in, if your doctor or provider writes you a prescription, a nature prescription, you can go to state parks all year long for free, because the importance of being able to reconnect back to the earth and take that time to smell the tulips and the flowers and put your feet in the grass and just take in the fresh air. It matters. It matters.
It does.
Thank you all so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Just thank you. I'm so serious. And we commend all of you, not only for your work in this space, but as you guys have talked about tonight, most of all for your advocacy for total mental health and wellness, for every member of this community that's viewing us today and who will view us tomorrow all around the world. Thank you. We salute each and every one of you.
Thank you.